Hey guys, this is April again, and welcome back to Does God Love Us? I have improved, I think, my ambiance a little bit with a nice little backdrop. So, yes, enjoy that. I told you I'd be doing a little upgrading. So there you go. Anyway, so yeah, today I wanted to talk about, does God care about our trauma? Does Jesus... is that something that's important to him? It was really interesting because I've been wanting to go into this, but then I had a devotion today and it really brought it together even more. I love that verse. It's the shortest verse in the Bible, but it is John 11:35. Jesus wept. And a lot of times people be like, oh, are you being sarcastic because it's the shortest verse in the Bible? So of course you've got it memorized. No. I'm not. I am sarcastic many times, but this time that is not the case. So, the reason that Jesus wept, why did he weep? So, Mary and Martha had a brother. His name was Lazarus. And Lazarus ended up falling so very ill and died. And when Jesus went to go visit them, they were crying. They were weeping because Lazarus had just died. And Jesus could have looked at them and said, hey, you guys, you need to trust in me and believe in me and everything's fine. You need to put this behind you and be joyful. But Jesus also knew something. Jesus knew that he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. But he didn't go in there and knowing this say, why don't you guys just ask me? I would have healed him or I would have raised him from the dead. He didn't do that. He didn't mock them. He didn't make fun of them. Nothing. He didn't guilt trip them. There was none of that. Instead, Jesus wept. That's pretty profound when you think about the fact, especially that he knew he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. He wept with them. If that's not empathy, I don't know what is. I mean, that's amazing. It doesn't say Jesus shed a tear. He wept. So I imagine everybody's wept. It's not really a fun thing to do. But when you weep, when I think of someone weeping, I think of them just letting go emotionally and just letting that grief and sorrow just pour out of you. The interesting thing here is that Jesus knew he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. So was Jesus weeping from sorrow because Lazarus died? I don't believe so. I believe Jesus was weeping because he felt their pain. He felt their sorrow. He felt their grief, and he was living that moment with them. If you have ever had a friend who's going through something just heartbreaking, and if you've ever just sat with them, even cried with them, because of the love that you have for them, because of the empathy that you have for them. So you share that sorrow with them. And I feel like that is what Jesus was doing here. And that speaks so loudly to me. It's just profound again to me. But then also today in my devotions, I was listening to Isaiah 53. And it talks about that Jesus was despised. He was a man of sorrows. He was rejected. He was acquainted with grief. All these things that Jesus did not have to do. Jesus did not have to become human and experience all of this. He didn't have to do that. He did that out of love for us. God sent his son for us. But what that ties into is that Jesus became human and therefore felt the emotions that we have. He felt the sorrow, the rejection, the pain, the grief, all of that stuff that we feel, which then makes him empathetic. It makes him understanding of our pain, of our grief, of our sorrow, of the things that we go through, the things that we deal with. Do I think that Jesus had panic attacks and anxiety and all of that? I don't think that was something that he through his life dealt with. But just before he was going to be crucified, it talks about that he's praying. He knows what's coming. and he sweats blood. I want to be super respectful here, but I'm pretty sure God knows where I'm going with this. But that to me speaks of an anxiety, not an anxiety of I don't know what's going to happen and I don't know if I can trust my father. Not that kind of anxiety, but an anxiety of what's coming, of knowing the pain, knowing that he's going to take on himself all the sins that every human being has ever committed. So yes, I believe he knows what the worst anxiety attack would ever feel like. So let's go to the trauma. So many of us have gone through different things in our life. There's a lot of stuff that I've been through, a lot of trauma from childhood, and I thought I had dealt with all of it. But then some stuff happened here kind of recently when I was in South Carolina that just made me realize I had not dealt with all of it. But I had always been brought up and gone to churches where it's pretty much you pray, you trust God, and you move forward. And you don't wallow in the stuff of the past. And I agree, don't wallow in it. However, if you don't heal it, if you look at hurt people hurt people. There's a reason for that. Many times when we have trauma, abuse, abuse is a lot of it, but trauma through, even if it's like, say, people that have been to war, people that have gone through, car accidents, different things, the different traumas that we have in our lives, we end up dealing with a lot of those traumas in unhealthy ways. We build defense mechanisms. And the problem with defense mechanisms goes back to, again, hurt people. If you build up walls, which I guarantee you I did, I know that. And that's something I'm working on. But if you build up walls, it's really hard to get in and be vulnerable with people, to let them in and then to love them. Because a lot of times we fear love because love hurts us. But that, again, has come from the traumas of the past that have made us create other ways to deal with stuff. Some people deal with it with drugs, alcohol, they push the people that they love away because they're scared of that love. They sometimes hurt the people that they love. I mean, there's so many different ways that trauma victims can end up hurting other people, and they don't mean to. But if you don't heal it, especially if you want to have a ministry of talking to people and being a witness for God, being a light for him, being an example, and if you have this trauma that has created a wall around you, it's going to be really difficult. And God gave us tools. It's just like we have medicine for things. We have medicine for pneumonia. We have medicine for snake bites. We have medicine for, all these different things. Don't you think that God also would want us to go and get the trauma taken care of? Find a good, Bible-based counselor who will lead you through that and help you learn how to change those patterns that you have built to protect yourself into healthy ways to protect yourself, or into healthy ways of dealing with the different things that come up in our life. Because there's always going to be people that can hurt us, that could, cause us pain. So it's interesting to me when I hear people say, well, just move on. Well, we have to heal that trauma. We have to heal those things. And I believe that God and Jesus, I believe that they truly care. They are truly empathetic to those traumas. I believe that we are supposed to get healed from that. The different things in the Bible that talk about love and how important love is, and showing love and showing compassion. I mean, it's just, and having hope. Faith, hope, and love. Those three things go against what many times trauma victims have put up around them. They don't want to hope too much. That's been yanked out from under them so many times. Faith? Have faith in what? Obviously, faith in God. But sometimes that can be affected, because if we've been hurt so many times, how are we going to have faith in this? Yeah, sure. But love's a whole other thing. Why am I going to allow myself to love people and let them hurt me? Let them have the opportunity to hurt me if I am scared of that, and if I can't do that, if I can't love because I'm scared of what might happen. So yes, I truly believe that God cares about our trauma, and that he's right there with us. He wants us to get healed from that trauma, and I believe he wants to be a part of that healing process. I don't know that you really could heal all the way without having God a part of the healing process. So yes, I believe that in having that relationship with God, part of that is being vulnerable and going to him, along with obviously a good counselor or therapist, but interweaving those, because God wants us to be healthy. He wants us to love people. He wants us to love ourselves, not in the, oh, I'm great and blah, blah, blah way, but in that way that when we love ourselves, we can then love others. So I hope this has been helpful to any of you who have gone through trauma. Many, many people have. And I hope that you understand that God is right there listening. I know that for me, sometimes I will just talk to God. There are times when I will just let everything out to God. It's like opening up my heart, opening up everything to God. It's not a relationship of where he's sitting up there and like, oh, I have to listen to this. Instead, he's right here and he empathizes with us. He loves us. So again, I hope this was helpful. I appreciate you guys for taking the time out to listen to this. And I hope that you guys check in for the next conversation that we have. I don't know what it is yet, but it's amazing the different things that God has put into my head to talk about. So, all right, well, I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.